Hey, Bruce Naylor here, your boomer consumer. For the last several years, I've used both the Canon 70D and the Sony AX100 as my A cameras. That is until last year when Sony released the A6400. Now those two cameras were real workhorse cameras, but the A6400 brought some things to the table that I just didn't have access to before. Now I was really intrigued about using the A6400 for locked off shots. Those are shots where I actually mount the camera on a tripod and use as my quote A camera, and it shoots my A roll. Now this video was not sponsored by anybody. I paid for this camera with my own funds. All opinions are my own, and no one has reviewed this video prior to posting. Now if you're interested in an A6400 for yourself, I'll have my affiliate link with Amazon down below, as well as the affiliate link for the Sigma 16mm f1.4 lens. So here are my 5 reasons why I love the Sony A6400. Now reason number 1 has to do with color science. I have had several Canon DSLRs, the 70D, the T6i. I never was completely satisfied by the color, especially my skin tones with those cameras, and I tried tweaking them, but it just always ended up having to fiddle with it a lot in post. With the Sony AX100 camcorder, I got a lot closer to skin tones I was more comfortable with, and with the A6400, I've not had to really do a lot of adjustments to skin tones in post that satisfy me and my particular skin tones. So when it comes to color science, I think the Sony A6400 does an amazing job. And speaking of color science, this brings us to reason number 2. And that is the picture profiles that come with the A6400. Not only do you have log, which is not available in your Canon 70D, 80D, 90D, but it also has hyperlog gamma, HLG, which is a form of HDR video. These are things that are not available in either 70, 80, or 90D. So this gives me more creative control over the video. Now, admittedly, I'm not really making use of HDR currently, but I could in the future. Or at least this is a camera I can grow into, where I was pretty limited on what I could do with the Canon DSLR and the AX100. What you see is what you get pretty much with those cameras. But the A6400 with the different picture profiles, you can learn to do advanced color grading in post by using log formats or the HDR formats. Reason number 3, unlimited recording time. Well, it's not truly unlimited. You're limited to the storage capacity of your SD card and your battery. I happen to have a USB power pack plugged into the camera to give it longer time on the battery, but we'll talk about that in another video. But with the Canon cameras, the 70D, the 80D, 90D, and all the DSLRs and mirrorless cameras Canon makes, you have a 30-minute record limit. And generally that's probably going to be fine for most people, but in my case, I make a lot of mistakes recording my videos. That's why I actually went to the AX100, because I didn't have that record time. I'll record videos, sometimes I'll be recording for almost an hour straight, because rather than stopping and starting, I'll just let it roll and then edit out the parts that didn't make the cut, so to speak. So that's a huge advantage, and that is one less reason why to continue using the AX100, is because of the unlimited recording time. Number 4. Now this probably doesn't really pertain to me as much, but it's still something I like, and that is the compact form factor of the A6400. The 70D, 80D, 90D, those all weigh around 1.5 pounds or so, whereas the Sony A6400 is about 0.9% of a pound. So it's a lot lighter, it's a lot smaller form factor. So if I was to carry this camera around for, photos, or take it out on the street for videography, whatever, it's a smaller form factor, and I happen to think that that is an important thing to keep in consideration when you're using a camera, is the size and weight of the camera. And I love the form factor of the A6400. This could be subjective. Again, I keep this locked off, so you could say, Bruce, it really doesn't make a difference if you've got it on a tripod all the time, and you would be correct in that statement. But nonetheless, it is still a feature that could be important to other people, that size and weight. And yes, other mirrorless cameras are also small, including the M50 from Canon. However, that's crippled, its 4K is crippled by a severe crop, And if you add on the other reasons why I'm not that keen on Canon gear right now, put that all together, that or the M6 Mark II, just don't cut the mustard for me. Reason number 5, autofocus. And the A6400 has really fantastic autofocus. And that's very important when you're a solo content creator, because there's nobody there making sure you're in focus. You've got to rely on the camera to make sure that you stay tack sharp in the video. Now, another thing about the A6400 is the fact that the autofocus is hybrid, so it's a combination of phase detection and contrast based, and it makes it very, very fast. And another important thing in my case is I do a lot of product reviews, and I'm constantly holding things up in front of the camera, and I need it to shift that focus from my face to the product and then back as quickly as possible. Is it perfect? No, but is it a big improvement over the AX100? Yes, it's a big improvement over the 70D. Yes, it is. I would say Sony's autofocus is some of the best in the business going forward. Bonus reason, number 6. Now, to be fair, I'm looking at this as a system between the lens and the camera. And the lens that I use for my talking head videos is the Sigma 16mm f1.4. Now, I'm in a small office. I don't get a lot of natural light in here, so I got to rely on artificial lighting. And when you're trying to deal with a kind of a wide lens, it gets to be real tough to find one that is a fast lens. In other words, it has a very low aperture number. And this happens to be a fantastic lens. I think it's under $400, and pretty much it stays on my camera full time, and it allowed me to work in lower light. Still has some nice wide shots with this camera. I think the crop factor is like 1.5 on this lens. And like I said, I think it was under $400. So when I combine the camera and the lens, they work together as a team. I get the look I want with the lighting that I have in the space that I have to work with. And it just packs such a punch compared to my Canon, compared to my Sony AX100. It gives, you get a blurry background with it. I get that. I'm not that big into blurry backgrounds. It's just a byproduct of having a nice fast lens and a nice wide open aperture. So if you like bokeh, whatever you want to call it, you get that with this system as well, so I couldn't be more pleased. In conclusion, this camera, this system, this lens and camera gives me beautiful 4K video in a relatively low light setting in a relatively small space, but gives me a nice wide angle. The ability to work in log or HDR if I want to going forward, and fantastic autofocus. And I'm able to do it on a relatively decent budget. I think all in, it was $900 for the camera and body and $400, so about $1,300, give or take, for this system, as I call it. And it meets my needs. And that's why I love the A6400. A year ago, a lot of YouTubers were all over this camera, but there are also some things that I don't like about it, and that'll be in an upcoming video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.